Sorry about the mess.
Hi, I'm George from MovieWeb. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. Excited to be chatting with you about your career, about this movie. It's really an incredible piece. I wanted to start by asking you about shooting from a child's POV, telling a story from a child's POV. One of the old things is, don't work with kids. This kind of goes very, very, very much against that and does so beautifully. And so I guess I'd like to talk to you about making that choice and the challenges it presents.
So, I honestly feel in this instance I had no choice because I did write the first many, many drafts of the film just as we're watching this take place. And it just didn't work. I couldn't get to the other side of particularly the behavior of the mom, the racism, the colonialism. I had to then go back to the book because the author of the memoir wrote such a pure voice and funny, naughty, irreverent, profound voice of her young self. She doesn't write it in her voice, but the way she described herself and the things that as a young child she used to do and say, that became the sort of beacon of light. And I, at some point, really realized I can't tackle this subject matter if I don't do it through the child. And the thing that I most resonated with in the book was her description of herself as a young kid in the middle of this world, because I was put in a similar world in South Africa.
I
And I
was going
thought,
to ask you about the personal connection at some point, but you already went there. So great.
yeah, so that so connected to my bloodstream that I felt as if I remember most of all the things I think that shaped me in my life most were the things that happened in those early years. And so seeing myself as that grubby little girl, the way she was a grubby little girl, living in a very upside down society the way that I was, I thought, I just know how to tell this. And the child is the filter through which everything has to come so that we can hear the racist things that were told her, so that she's parroting what she's learned, because that's even showing the audience how racism is learned, how prejudice is learned. It's learned from the things that you hear around you.
Yeah, and I have to say it's so effective. It feels personal, universal at the same time a little bit. Can you talk about when you did all these drafts, you got to this point of the story, but when you're directing her, and she does such a wonderful job, how do you kind of what was your dynamic like and your process like between the two of you to find this, to bring all this weight, but to maybe keep her light and like
Yes.
comfortable and able to be so vulnerable on camera?
Yes. First of all, the big thing was hiring a non-actor, because I think an acting kid has already learned the cynicism, the artifice, the thing that's not, she didn't know what she was doing. She was just an open book of a soul. And so this beautiful, open little creature came in that just brought her own light every single day. And I could plop her down, her hair, say to her mom, don't brush her hair, dirty her up, make her as dirty as possible. But that little sparkle that is her had not, I hope it never is, had not yet been muddied in any way by the pretend, the world of, being doted on or being made to feel too important. She was just barefoot, pure, happy. Her dog was on set with her all the time. That dog that she ties the scarf on, that was her dog. So her dog
Yeah.
was there. Her family were there with us the whole time. Her father was shooting behind the scenes stuff. Everything was kept light. I didn't give her the script either to learn, because the one time that I did, it became that parroted thing. And I was like, my God, I can just hear the lines being said. And she couldn't break the habit. So I said, no more learning the script, no more getting the scenes. On the day of, I'd give her things to play with, the shoe, the whip, the cigarettes. She loved the cigarettes because she sort of knew it's so naughty and I shouldn't be smoking. Things to drink. This is a bottle of beer, so pretend you're drinking beer. She loved all of that. She was on, I could only work with her for 3 hours a day, so I would have her
Wow.
shoot her, I'd line the shot up, then bring her in and then say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm over here, and I'd throw lines to her. I'd have both cameras on her. I'd make sure we were in focus before she came on there because the clock was ticking all the time. And then between things, I would say things, the ice, for instance. I gave her the ice. And I'd often say to the guys, roll the cameras before she even comes in, because that's where I got lots of the gold. She's messing around with the ice, the camera's rolling, she doesn't know. A piece of ice slid down the back of her throat and she went, oh my God, and then we laughed. So I got that on camera. All of that stuff with the cat. I had two cameras, a camera above, and she was playing with the cat and she was talking to the cat. And then I added the voiceover later. So I kept it light, playful. When I had to do the heavier scenes, I didn't tell her what was going to happen. I had the cameras and I said many times, are we absolutely in focus? Are you ready? And I popped her under the table where the mother has that crazy scene where the parents fight. And I got it on one take because she was under there. And it's interesting, if you film a kid and it's unrehearsed and she's not told this is what's coming, children don't stare and frown and tear up and look. They look and they almost look. There's a moment where she almost looks like she wants to smile and she sort of looks away and she's playing with a loose tooth. She looks again. That's the natural behavior. And those are the pieces that I kept.
That is, it's like you shot it like it was a special effect, is what it sounds like.
Yes.
Like, we'll get it rolling and like, the bridge is going to blow up. Like, make sure we
get it all set up. And same thing with the dogs. The dogs, I could get them to do things. Or the cat. I got so lucky with the cat. I have to say, I had so much luck on my side finding this little beautiful kid. The fact that she was so unspoiled and so young and so free in her ways of being and expressing, the fact that her dog was a nervous, interesting animal that was always close by her. But, you just kept the camera rolling. In the case with dogs and kids, you have the camera, you prepare as much as you can, and you are just ready. And then it was combing through hundreds of hours of footage because
like a doc, basically.
Yeah, I didn't have time when I was shooting to even look at dailies. I was just like, shit, I hope we have it. Let's keep going,
I wonder, hearing you speak about it, how much your long career as an actor informed your awareness of what is natural and how to get someone there. Because yes, you talk about it is a child and that's very different, and pulling this kind of natural, like real beauty out of someone is hard no matter what age. Yeah. So I wonder, and I'm curious, I'll ask you in a second about some of the great directors you've worked with and how they filtered in. But I can't help but think about Robert Altman because he was so good at capturing his whole ethos. Right? Was like, let it happen. Let me capture it from the side.
Completely. So Bob was the one most of all, because I had a kid, because I had to follow what appeared. And Bob was the best example of that in the way that he was just like, let's see what evolves. Let's see what your behavior is. Grab behavior, capture behavior. And I had this wild, incredibly free creature. So what more of a gift could you have? But the cameras had to be on her at all times to get it. And the stitching was the thing I did later. The stitching was recording voiceover, giving her a line at a time. But really Bob's way of working with the camera and of being loose and free in the moment was the most influential thing for me.
Yeah. And on the absolute other end of the spectrum, but no less a genius, you worked with Steven Spielberg, who is like the most coordinated, choreographed, like he's like a painter with the camera. And I'm curious how that pivotal experience in your life, probably on Schindler's List and with him, filters into your just directing approach or how you craft the story.
So the thing that I got from Steven is it happened on Schindler's, it happens in conversation when you're just with him. But it really was in, say, for instance, a film like Empire of the Sun, what he sees in the world. He's very childlike. So as coordinated an adult and whatever as he is, he has a boy's imagination, a young boy's imagination. And so telling the story from a young girl's point of view, I almost had to be her, the way that he is, he sees the world. So with wonder, you have to look at things with wonder. You have to be fascinated by the bum on the other side of that ashtray. It's like, that's naughty and that's something that we shouldn't talk about. And, the things that she sees and the questions that she asks. So Steven's youthful, childlike way is the thing that I approached Bobo with. So very, very much influenced what I did here.
That's so interesting. Yeah, he brings that joy, the childlike joy
Hmm.
that you could connect to her and relate to her.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about a couple roles, because one of the most enduring, perhaps, of many enduring roles is Miss Honey, and it also relates to children and like that the
Yes.
nostalgia there and
Yes.
Matilda, and it just feels like again like a natural connection. So I'm curious if that's in there
Yes.
somewhere. And
So much because Miss Honey is sort of it's the anti-mother of this character, right? So
yeah,
this Nicola character that I play, Miss Honey is the complete antithesis, and so many children sort of people, adults tell me today, oh my God, Miss Honey saved
they're
me.
still
Her
raised by Miss Honey.
kindness, her loveliness. And that little Mara Wilson, the way Danny worked with her. So I took away a lot from Danny's care and joy and lightness and the way that he worked with a child. Really, I never forgot it. So I had that as a memory as well to impose here. But I love Miss Honey. I had no idea Miss Honey would be as enduring as she is, or that the film would be as enduring as it is. It was one of the great gifts of my life. It really was. My kids, I could use it with my children at a certain age to be, when whatever, if they were just sort of feeling that I was irrelevant, then someone would stop me and go, "Were you Miss Honey?" And I'd feel my children's eyes on me and give me street cred again. So, yeah, it was a very, very special part, very special.
You have probably infinite street cred, if we're being honest, but that's so cool. And but I think what I'm hearing that's so fascinating is that all the things and the people you worked with stayed with you, and you
All,
brought it all to bear here. So it
all
was a debut, but it was really like a lifetime.
It was a lifetime. And I said that to someone else. I said, I didn't study film. I studied film by being on film sets. I didn't study how to write a screenplay. I didn't take one screenplays 101. I read probably 10,000 screenplays in my life, the good and the bad. I've been in the good and the bad. I've tried to sort of see what do you need to do before you start shooting so that you can freaking get through the shoot, because it's always going to be a horror show once you get there of just mistakes and lights changed and it started raining or whatever you need to do. So thank the Lord for the endless hours of just absorbing the stuff and being in the presence of geniuses, geniuses. So I was so lucky, the school of life that I was in. It really, really gave me the ability to tell the story.
I realize there's another one who probably makes sense because you talk about the challenges is Sam Raimi may have had some impact because he knows how to move within, certainly in Army of Darkness, perhaps, or like that just like things are happening, you got to go fast, you don't have
Yes.
endless
Move
supplies,
move
right?
fast. And the thing with Sam as well, so I don't know if the sense of humor came through on this, but there are parts of it that I just
Oh,
find
yeah.
very, very funny, right? To me it's funny. Sam is another child in a man's body. So there was this most giggling his heart out, finding things hilarious, loving, sort of torturing Bruce Campbell, and just if I would add a line, so you have to still keep your spark of humor about you, because you don't want just, even if it's a serious subject matter, there's got to be the moments that pop and crackle and have the life and the light in them. And Sam's just wonderful sense of humor really informed me too. It's like you got to keep it both behind the camera and in front of the camera.
Yeah, I mean that it's another one that's just filtered in there that very few people can bring it all into one project. So I have to wrap, but I really appreciate you taking the time. It's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
film and I hope a lot of people see it.
Thank
So
you
thanks
so
so much.
much.